if you can.
Down, Grandpa. Some days we get peculiar people staying at the mill on the marsh, and today a very peculiar one was having breakfast. His name was Mr Munchmould.
Anything else, Mr Munchmould?
More cheese, please.
And he loved cheese.
More cheese?
Oh, you can't have enough cheese.
I was playing the Captain Dumbletwig game with Grandpa.
Oh no, a space spider's web. Miss a turn. Bother.
He wants more cheese.
More cheese? He'd look like a cheese at this rate, or smell like one. Who is this Mr Munchmould anyway? I mean, what's he doing in Sunnysands? He sounds peculiar.
He is peculiar, Grandpa. He said he's here on business. Cheesy business.
Cheesy business? Dear. I don't like the sound of that.
Yes, this was the day of Mr Munchmould's cheesy business. Later that day, in Mr Whoops's shop, my cousin Jason was buying sweets.
Right you are. Lemon bonbons.
Just then, Miss Smiley arrived with Mr Whoops's lunch.
My lovely jubbly hubby.
Oh, wonder wife of mine.
That's what they call each other. Now they're married.
Oh, lemon bonbons. Grandpa's favourite.
He says they help him think.
I'll just put your lunch in the back, Mr Whoops.
Suddenly, the door flew open and in marched Mr Munchmould.
Mr Munchmould.
Mr. Whoops.
Whoops! Oh, Mr Whoops!
How could I be so clumsy?
It's clear to me, Mr. Whoops, that you're not really capable of running this shop.
Oh, he is. He just has little accidents, that's all.
And someone who has little accidents should not be in charge of a shop.
But it's a brilliant toy shop. Everyone loves it.
Listen here, young man. I own this building, you see? This is all mine!
Mr Whoops was upset.
But, Mr Munchmould, I always pay my rent.
The fact is this, Mr. Whoops. I am now going to take over this shop, and it will no longer be a toy shop. It will be a cheese shop.
A cheese shop? But Sunnysands needs toys.
We don't need cheese.
Everywhere needs cheese. You can't have enough cheese.
You mustn't change it. We all love Mr. Whoops's shop.
My shop, young man. My shop.
But it's the best toy shop in the world.
And it will now be the best cheese shop in the world. When I'm back, I shall have a piece of paper for you to sign, Mr. Whoops, saying that you will leave at once.
He's going to make me leave my lovely toy shop.
We won't let it happen, Mr. Whoops. Grandpa will know what to do.
So, Jason, Miss Smiley and Mr Whoops got into Mr Whoops's car, drove out of Sunnysands and down the country lanes, and very soon they arrived here at the mill on the marsh.
A cheese shop? You can't turn the best toy shop in the world into a cheese shop.
What can we do, Grandpa? Whatever can we do?
Grandpa sucked on his lemon bonbon. Then he said,
Here's what you do. You all dash over to your shop, Mr. Whoops, and so that you're there when he comes over with that paper for you to sign. And then you explain to him that it's a terrible idea. Terrible.
I'm sure we can do that.
Well, I should be back at my cafe.
Why don't I help out in the cafe, Miss Smiley, and you can stay with Mr. Whoops?
Good idea, Jason. These bonbons are beginning to work.
Oh, Elsie, Mr Munchmould wants to turn Mr Whoops's shop into a cheese shop.
"That's awful!"
So we're going to try and stop him. Come along, everyone. I'll drop you off at the cafe, Jason.
Aren't you coming, coming, Grandpa.
Of course I'm coming. But the only thing that'll stop Mr Munchmould's plan is a bit of magic.
Not the shrinking cat, Grandpa.
Catch me if you can.
You know, when Grandpa shrinks, he can run so fast you can't catch him. He can hide in teeny tiny places. And he can get anywhere he wants to. Like this. Today, I thought he was coming in my backpack with me. Come on then, Grandpa.
No, I'll come in the plane. A bit later, Elsie.
And he jumped down onto the floor.
Your job will be to get everyone out of the shop except Mr Munchmould, OK?
OK.
Then ring me.
Right.
Let it ring 3 times. I'll know it's you, and that will be my sign to set off. Right?
Right.
Off you go.
But Mr Munchmould was not going to change his mind.
It will be magnificent. Cheese from the floor to the ceiling.
But Mr Munchmould, everybody in Sunnysands loves Mr Whoops and his shop.
And what's going to happen to Mr Whoops?
I'm sure he can come and help you in the cafe, Miss Smiley. If he can stop having little accidents. Right, Mr Whoops. Sign here.
I decided it was time to call Grandpa. Then I'd have to find a way to get everyone out of the shop, apart from Mr Munchmould.
Aha!
I let it ring 3 times.
Off we go. I'm on my way, Elsie.
And Grandpa took off and flew out of the window towards Sunnysands and Mr Whoops' shop, where Mr Munchmould said,
I see none of you has anything to say.
now was my chance. Actually, I do. I have something. The thing is...
Oh, what is the thing, little girl?
Mr Munchmould bent down to talk, and his breath smelt like old socks. The thing is, Mr Whoops' toy shop is magic.
Magic, eh? Well, well. If things are magic, little girl, then magical things happen.
They do, if you let them. Why don't we go to Miss Smiley's cafe for ice cream? Then Mr Munchmould can see the magic for himself.
Good idea, Elsie.
Excellent. Off you go. I can't wait for all the magic to start. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, shop.
As Mr Munchmould unpacked his cheese, Grandpa flew in.
What on earth?
He jumped out of the plane and ran, and Mr Munchmould picked the plane up.
Very odd. Doesn't look radio controlled.
Grandpa had got on the table and he started the train going.
What is it?
Then Grandpa went up to an alligator toy and set it working. Mr Munchmould couldn't think what was going on.
But there's nobody here.
But there was somebody here. And he'd just wound some
I
frogs
don't
up.
believe this. This is extraordinary.
Bit
What's
by
that?
bit, the toy shop started to come to life, thanks to Grandpa. And when he saw a little puppet mouse, he crawled inside and went...
Hey, geek.
Mr Munchmould heard the mouse.
I heard a mouse.
Mr Munchmould didn't like mice.
I don't like mice.
Then I wouldn't have a cheese shop if I were you. Because mice love cheese. And I'll invite all my friends here. Yum, yum, yum.
Good grief. This is extraordinary. It's magic. Toys that work by themselves. Talking mice.
Hey, geek.
That little girl was right. This has got to be the best toy shop in the world.
Hey, geek.
And Mr Munchmould ran to the telephone and dialed the number of Miss Smiley's cafe, and Grandpa got out of the mouse and hid.
Hello, Miss Smiley's cafe. Oh, hello, Mr Munchmould. Yes. Yes, he is.
Come back. You must come back quickly. Your toy shop is magic.
He says it's magic. My toy shop is magic.
I knew it would be.
So did I.
We dropped Mr Whoops and Miss Smiley back at the toy shop.
No more cheese. I promise you, no more cheese, Mr. Whoops. Just toys. Magical toys.
Grandpa was quite pleased with himself. Then Mr Munchmould tore up the paper he'd made Mr Whoops sign, shook Mr Whoops by the hand,
Good luck, Mr. Whoops.
picked up his case full of cheese and made for the door.
Goodbye, shop.
Oh, Mr. Whoops.
Miss Smiley was hugging Mr Whoops so tightly that they didn't see Grandpa fly out of the door. And very soon he was back at the mill on the marsh. When we got home, we ran upstairs to check that Grandpa had got back safely. Cap off, Grandpa, quick!
Oh, you should be proud of Elsie, Jason. She worked wonders.
Well, both of you together work wonders, Grandpa.
All three of us did. It was teamwork.
Teamwork.
Grandpa, there you are. I don't know what Elsie did, but she absolutely convinced Mr Munchmould that Mr Whoops's shop was magic.
Clever girl.
What's for supper, Mum?
Cheese. Teamwork.
Happy hairy family in Hairyland, and we're the hairy fairies, telling all the stories
And the singing in a band.
We had a little accident with our magic and turned the world hairy.
Oh, how tragic!
We've run out of spells in our hairy fairy tree.
But they don't care.
They love to be hairy. The Ha Ha Hairies, finding all the laughter in Hairyland. Ma, Pa,
And Minnie.
and don't forget there's Nana.
And Chihuahua, the hairy pet.
But up on the hill in Chateau Shampoo, there's Boris Boo Hoo.
And Boise, too.
Boris is trouble, you wait and see. But they don't care, they love to be hairy. The Ha Ha Hairies.
Oh, that was a really tiring ride. I'm all puffy.
Oh, me too.
Deep breaths, Quiff. Breathe in.
Pooh! Whoa, what's that smell? Hi, can you smell it? Pooh! Wiggy, have you made a smell?
No, I have not made a smell.
Ugh, are you sure you haven't made a smell?
Of course I'm sure. Ooh, it is so pooey.
Hey!
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
The stinkety pongo plant! Oh, do you remember the last time we smelled a stinkety pongo plant?
Of course I do. You won't believe this. It's a really smelly story.
It all started one day at the Ha Ha Hairies' house.
Ma was washing her favourite flowers.
And we were in the furry fir cone tree.
Pa was washing the hairy bushes.
And Minnie was washing the hairy pear tree.
And the Bristly Whistler was singing away in the hairy pear tree, trying not to get wet.
Ma and Pa Ha Ha really look after their garden, which is why it smells so sweet.
Smell those flowers.
Mmm. Oh, Nits! Pa was about to come and wash the furry fir cone tree. We'd better get out of here.
Now!
We decided to go and see what else was happening in Hairyland.
Papa Piggy, 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 Papa me round Hairyland, round Hairyland.
I am Quick.
And I am Wiggy
With a hairy fairy band.
Well, up on the hill at Chateau Shampoo, so someone doesn't wash his garden. Can you guess who?
Boris Boo Hoo, what's he gonna do? Boris is too lazy to care for any of his plants or flowers.
We landed in the big blue barrel.
Suddenly, Boris smelt something.
And it was something that smelled really pooey. Oh, yeah.
Pooh! Has Boris made a smell? Boris thought the smell was bad, really bad.
So he rang the Boise bell.
Boise could smell it too. He and Boris started to look around. And then they saw it.
It was a stinkety pongo plant.
And because Boris never bothered to wash his garden, the stinkety pongo plant had started to smell.
And that's why this story's called The Day of the Big Stink.
Boris had to get rid of it. He told Boise to dig it up.
So Boise dug, and up came the stinkety pongo plant.
Boise couldn't stand the pooey smell, so off he ran.
Boris was cross. He was going to have to sort this out all by himself.
He looked through the hairy starey. Now where could he chuck the stinkety pongo plant?
As soon as Boris saw the Ha Ha Hairies washing their garden, he went...
He thought maybe he could get the stinkety pongo plant into the Ha Ha Hairies garden.
But how could he persuade the Ha Ha Hairies to have it? He needed a plan.
Boris needs a plan. He needs a plan as quick as he can. He needs to plan a big surprise.
He needs to plan his next disguise.
What'll it be?
What'll it be?
What'll it be? The hairy old hag of happiness.
Yes, Boris was disguised as the hairy old hag of happiness.
He was going to give the stinkety pongo plant to the Ha Ha Hairies. It was all wrapped up so the smell couldn't escape. Boo!
Why is he all dressed up as the hairy old hag of happiness?
I bet he's going to tell the Ha Ha Hairies that the plant will bring them happiness.
But it'll just bring them stinkiness. Ugh.
The Ha Ha Hairies were still washing their garden when the hairy old hag of happiness tippy-toed in, clutching the stinkety pongo plant.
Then she started singing.
Everyone stopped to listen to the weird whoopy singing.
That's when we flew in and landed in the flower bed.
Suddenly, the Ha Ha Hairies saw this weird person coming into their garden.
Boris curtsied. And the Ha Ha Hairies curtsied.
Then Boris told them he was the hairy old hag of happiness.
The Ha Ha Hairies were very excited. They loved being happy. Happiness was just about their favourite thing.
Boris said that he was giving them a happy magic spell. And to make it work, here's what they had to do.
Reach up high, turn around 3 times.
Shout! Touch your toes!
Wiggle your nose.
Jiggle your knee!
Howl like a wolf. And cluck like a hen.
Then he said they could open the parcel.
And the magic spell would work. And there'd be happiness all around.
Then off went the hairy old hag of happiness, leaving the stinkety pongo plant with the Ha Ha Hairies.
And so they all started on the actions to make the spell work. You got to reach up high, then turn about. 1, 2, 3.
Then do a little jig and have a little shout.
Wah!
It's as easy as ABC. So touch your toes and switch your nose and jiggle your knobbly knee. And soon the spell will start to work, and oh how happy you will be.
Now you must howl like a whiskery wolf.
Ow! And then go cluck, 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 like a big fat hairy hen. And soon the magic will kick off.
You just got to rip the paper off.
Rip it, strip it, what have you got to make the magic spell? It's a stinkety pongo plant, that's what. Woo! What a smell!
Pooh! Doesn't seem like a happy spell to me. More of a pooey spell.
I think it might turn happy. Oh!
At that moment, Nana arrived.
And Ma decided there was only one thing to do.
Give the stinkety pongo plant a bath.
And while they bathed it, Boris arrived back at Chateau Shampoo.
He was so happy he'd got rid of it.
Soon the stinkety pongo plant was all clean and shiny,
And not at all pooey.
and it was covered in huge, sweet-smelling flowers.
So if Boris had just looked after it, then it would never have been stinky.
Exactly. See, it was the plant of happiness after all. It even made the Bristly Whistler happy. He loves stinkety pongo seeds. Yummy.
Boris was very pleased with himself. No more stinkety pongo plants for him.
But the Bristly Whistler had saved one of his seeds specially for Boris. He dropped it under Boris's bedroom window.
And the hairy sun shone down on it, and it started to grow.
Then the hairy moon came out.
And another day passed, and it grew and grew and grew.
Until one morning, Boris threw open his door and...
It had happened all over again. Well, I can't see a stinkety pongo plant anywhere.
Me neither. How odd. It smells so pooey. Wait a minute. Wiggy, you did make a smell, didn't you?
Of course I didn't.
Wiggy,
I didn't.
are you sure?
Of course I'm sure. I'd know if I'd made a smell or not.
I'm sure you did make one.
I didn't.
Did?
Didn't. Well, maybe just a very tiny one.